guys, today I thought we could do some more looks with the Urban Decay Wired palette. I've already made a first impression with this. I did get this palette sent in PR, which is still so mind-blowing to me, but I would recommend you watch that video before you watch this if you haven't already watched that, so I will have that linked up in the corner. But I thought for today's video, like I said, I want to do some more looks with this, and the way that I want to do this is I want to do this 3 looks 1 palette video a little bit differently than how I normally do my videos, because I want to be able to do more of these, and the fact of the matter is that I just the way things are right now, I'm getting a lot of things into my collection which I used to not really do because I wasn't receiving as much PR. So instead of doing like 3 full looks, I think what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to do 1 eye look on 1 eye, and then I'll take that off and we can do a full complete look after. So in total it's going to be 3 looks, but it just makes it so that I can film it all in one sitting because my eyes can only take 2 applications before they really start to get angry with me. So I think we should just get into it. Like I said, please watch the first video before you watch this so that you have an idea of how I feel about the formula on this palette, because I do feel like it can be a little bit tricky to work with. So we're just going to test out all of the shadows today and just kind of see how they perform, and I will give you my final thoughts on the palette when I am done. So I'm only going to prime 1 eye here because I do want to make sure that, you know, the primer is tacky, so I don't want it to sit on the other eye for too long. And this is my Natasha Denona eyeshadow base, which I absolutely love. I love the color of it, I love the coverage that it has, and I really like the way that shadows lay on top of this. So I'm gonna first prime the top part of my eye, and then once I get to my lower lash line, I'm going to prime underneath as well. But like I said, I do want this primer to be tacky when I do go in with the shadows. So let's see, what do I want to do today? I definitely want to make sure I try out all of these shadows in the looks that I'm doing. So maybe we should start off by doing something cool tone. Maybe we'll do like cool tone, warm tone, and then we'll combine the 2 in the last look or something like that, just to make sure I am able to play with all of these colors. So maybe what I'll do is I'll do like a 3 colored look, just kind of layering them next to each other. So I will start off by taking Jolt, and then I'll go into the other lighter blue shade here, which is called Fluorescent, and end it with Chaos. And then I'll just keep the look kind of simple, but just test out all of the shades, see how they lay down on top of my lid. I don't normally do a lot of all matte eye looks. If you're new to my channel, you might not know that, but it's just not really my favorite thing to do. So I'm going to do it today because most of this palette is matte. So first off, gonna start off by taking Jolt, and I am actually going to prime underneath my eye as well now that I have a plan already and I know what I'm going to do, because I'm just going to do the same thing underneath my eye. Normally I would use a brush, but I don't know, I just felt like using my finger today. So with my MAC 242 brush, I'm going to take the green shadow here, and I'm going to start by first packing it on my lid. And we're gonna just build this up and see how pigmented I'm able to get it. I'm also very curious to see how the shadows are going to perform like layered on my lid. A lot of the time mattes just don't tend to really want to stick to my lid that well, so that's another reason why I don't really like to do all matte eye looks, because I find that they are also just kind of more delicate in a way. Like sometimes my eyes will start to water, and like if your eyes are watering and you're wearing an all matte eye look, it's really going to get messed up and there's really no saving it. Whereas if I feel like I'm wearing a shimmer on my lid and my eye starts watering, it's usually in the inner portion right where I'm putting down the green that I'm having an accident, and I can just take my finger over it and pat it out and it's normally fine. So I mean, that is laying down really, really nicely. I think that that color is really, really pretty actually. I love the shade of that. I just want to put it down on my other eye and we're not doing that. This is weird. Okay, I'm gonna take it on my lower lash line though, just on the inner portion here. It is taking a little bit of building up here to get the pigmentation to be the way that I want it, but I feel like it's laying down very nicely. So I'm wondering if next I'm gonna go into the lighter blue or if I should do the darker blue in the middle. I could also do the darker blue in the middle and the purple on my outer portion. I don't know, I kind of want to test out these mattes though. So I think next I'm going to go into Fluorescent, which is the lighter of the blues here. And if you guys want to see like a very in-depth first impression, Lauren May Beauty did a really good video where she kind of compared the shadows in the old palette to the shadows in the new palette, or at least like showed which shadows were new and which were repeats, because I don't have the other palette and I would rather refer you to that video than me having to repeat everything that she said in her video. So I will have her video linked down below if you want to see which of the shadows in this palette are, you know, new shadows and which ones are from the old Electric palette if you didn't already own that one. So I'm just putting this like right in the middle of my eye here. I'm packing it on to make sure I'm getting the most pigmentation out of it. And so far, I would say that this is laying down really, really nicely here. And I'm just gently blending out the edges up top. And I can feel my eyes starting to water, and I don't like that because that's probably going to ruin this, but it's okay. This is really just to test out the shadows. I'm kind of happy that I'm going to be doing another look after, because if this does get messed up, it's okay because I'm going to take it off anyway. So I'm just taking this underneath my eye in the same spot that I put it on the top. And I might have to go back and forth a few times with these colors to just make sure that they look the way that I want them to, but for now we're just going to place them down and see if maybe I need to go in and finesse anything after I'm done. But so far I'm really happy with these. I feel like they're performing very well. So I'm gonna switch to a smaller brush. I'm gonna take my Morphe E36, which is one of my favorites to use for like more precise work. So I'm gonna dip into Chaos, which is the dark blue matte, and I'm going to take that on the outer portion of my lid here where I don't have any shadow yet. That's beautiful, but I'm having a lot of fallout with that. So hopefully I'll be able to wipe that away here. So I'm first again just going to pack it on, and then I'm also going to make sure that I wing this out a little bit because I do like doing that with my eyeshadows. I don't feel like these are blending in together beautifully upon first application. I feel like it's removing a little bit of that lighter blue, but I am going to go in with a bit more of it after and try to build it up and see if I can get a good blend between the two. Also taking this down to my lower lash line and connecting it with the lower lash line. And I'm honestly so pleasantly surprised at how this blue is performing, because I don't have a lot of blues that I really love in this color. So the fact that this one is performing as good as it is makes me really, really happy. So I'm taking a bit more of that lighter blue, or is it even blue? It's more of a turquoise that I put in the middle, and I'm just patting over the edges here and just making sure that all of the blends are looking good. And I'm just going to do the same thing with the green as well. Now before I finish off with the rest of my eye look, let's see if I can remove this fallout. I'm just going to take a fan brush and try to wipe that away, but it's definitely sticking a little bit to my skin here. Most of it is coming off. I don't want to ruin this too much, but I think that that's fine. But just be careful with that shadow, because a lot of these shadows have a lot of kick up, so you want to be careful to not pick up too much, or at least tap off your brush a little bit, which is something that I tend to not do because I'm not the kind of person who will build up my shadows gradually. I like to just kind of pack them on my eye and hope for the best. Probably not the best idea with this palette, but I'm going to finish off with this eye. I'm thinking in my waterline I want to do something bright, so maybe I'll do like a yellow or something. Could that be fun? Maybe I'll do this. I feel like that could add a little something to the look. I might pop something different in my inner corner, do some liner and mascara, and I'll come back and we can start on the second eye. Okay, so the first eye is done, and I feel like this turned out really, really good. I mean, I didn't have any issues at all with the shadows. I thought they performed really well. So I'm excited to play more with some of the warmer tones, so that is what we're gonna do. So I'm gonna start by priming this eye now. I did put on a lipstick. I just felt like it was a bit distracting to not be wearing anything, because I don't want anybody to be looking at my crumbly lips, because I wouldn't want to look at someone else's crumbly lips for like 20 minutes. So I'm thinking for this look, maybe I'll do more of like a traditional way of building up a look. I'm gonna start off by taking Switch, and I'm gonna use that as my transition shade, and then I'm gonna deepen it up with the red. I might even dip into the purple a little bit, but let's first start off with Switch. I wanna see how these shadows are going to build on each other. Now, normally I wouldn't be doing my makeup in this order if I'm working with pressed pigments like this. I find that it's a lot easier to go in with the darkest shadow first, because sometimes these kind of colors don't have as much binders in them as regular eyeshadows, and these are like some of the pressed pigments in this palette, so I don't know how they're going to build, but we're gonna find out, because I know a lot of people do their makeup like this. They will start with the lightest shade and then go darker, whereas I feel like I prefer going dark to light a lot of the times, depending on the kind of colors that I'm working with. So we're just gonna see how these perform. I will say I really like the tone of this pink, but I do feel like it's showing up a little bit lighter on the eye than it is in the pan. But I don't really mind that, because I think it performs really, really well and is very easy to work with. But as you can see, it's a lot more neon in the palette than it is on the eye. It's more of like a pastel on the eye. But like I said, it doesn't really bother me at all. So I'm next gonna go into Slow Burn. But I just wanted to mention it anyway, because I'm sure some people are, you know, maybe wanting it to be a neon pink, but it's really not. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this in the outer corner of my eye here. And we're gonna see how this shadow performs. So it definitely appears to be a true red, which it's really tough to come by. I can see it maybe leaning a little bit pink, but it's probably because I'm putting it next to a pink. I feel like if I had the orange in my crease, wait, did I say I was going to do the orange in my crease? I feel like that's what I said. Isn't that what I said? I think that's what I said. Okay, well, I guess we're doing pink. I'm so sorry about that. But like I was saying, I feel like this red would probably pull more orange or more warm tone if I had the orange in my crease, but that just means that this is basically a true red and that is going to look great with both colors. And this is building very nicely and it's performing very well so far. I'm not having any problems with patchiness or anything like that. I feel like with these colors it takes a little time to build them up, but so far they build very nicely. So I am so pleasantly surprised. I know in my first impression I wasn't like blown away, but I thought they were good, but I wasn't like, oh my god, these are the best shadows ever. But playing more with them, like, I definitely think that these are really nice shadows so far. And that makes me really happy because, like I said, I never had the electric palette, so I don't know how well that one performed compared to this one. So maybe what I'll do is I'll try my lower lash line with these colors underneath my eye without a base. So I am first going to start with the red and take that and pull it down to my lower lash line here. And I don't want any of these looks to be like super complicated because I feel like a lot of the time with colorful shadows, sometimes it's just better to keep it simple because it's just going to make you less likely to mess up, you know? So I'm next going to go into the pink again and I'm going to use that to basically blend out the red that I put underneath my eye and just make sure I connect that with the outer corner. So I would say if you're struggling with using colorful shadows, maybe try to do some simpler look, even maybe just like a 1-color eye look, 2-color eye look, something that doesn't require a lot of building and blending, because that is when it starts to get a little bit tricky in my mind at least. And these colors are performing very nicely on my lower lash line. I find that it's more blues that tend to struggle a bit to stick onto a set base, whereas warm tones usually perform a little bit better. So what do I want to do on my lid? My only issue with this palette is that it doesn't have a lot of shimmers, and I am very much a shimmer on the lid kind of person. So right now I'm a little bit stuck because I don't know what I want to do. Maybe I'll just take the white and kind of do half cuckeries or something. Like, I feel like I can't just put the white on my lid now because I wasn't very careful with the shadows that I put on to begin with. So I'm going to take my white P. Louise base, and I don't want to do like a very structured cuckeries. I just want to put down a base for that white shadow to kind of have something to grip onto. So I'm gonna take a bit of a fluffy brush here. This is just like a small smudger. This is from Sonic Kashuk. It's their small eyeshadow brush, and I'm just going to pat a little bit of this like onto my lid here where I want the shadow to be, and then I'm going to basically blend this base into my crease here. And like I said, I want this to be like a diffused edge. I don't want this to be like a very intense cut crease. I just want to make sure that I have something that I can put that white on top of. So I'm next going to go into the white shadow. This one is called Glitch, and I'm just going to pat that all over where I put down that white P. Louise base. And I guess this will kind of be a Valentine's Day look, even though, you know, too late for that now, but I guess you could call it something like a Valentine's Day look. And I think that this is a really nice white. I feel like it's covering nicely. I don't know how intense and pigmented this would have been if I put it on top of, say, a concealer base or something like that, but put it on top of a white base, it's doing exactly what I wanted to do, just kind of having a bit of a diffused white crease here. So I'm gonna next go back into that red and just make sure that the outer corner is blended into the white here. And I'm also just running this through my crease to get that diffused edge that I was talking about. And just for that last step, I'm gonna take the first crease shade that I used, which was the pink, and just run this through my crease one last time. And then I'm going to finish off with these eyes as well. I will show you the close-ups of the looks. Everything I'm using will be linked down in my description box if you want to see what eyeliners and mascaras and stuff I'm wearing. So I will do that, and then I'll take this off. I'll come back and we can do a full complete look using a little bit more of like both the warm tones and the cool tones. Maybe I'll do something a little bit more complicated. I don't know, but I will do that, and then I'll be back and we can play some more with this palette. Okay, so I'm back, my eyes are all primed again, and we're gonna get into this last look. So I'm looking at the colors in this palette now to try to figure out what it is that I want to do, and I see now that the ones that I haven't used is the orange matte and the lavender matte. I think those are the only colors that I, over the course of the last 3 looks that I've did, that I haven't used. So I think I'm going to start by taking the purple. This one is called Shock, and I'm going to put that into my crease. I think I want to make this into a bit of a smoky eye here. I think that could be kind of fun since we haven't really done that. I could also do a halo eye, but I just don't know if I feel like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and basically put this in my whole crease. And this is a beautiful, beautiful color. I really like this purple. I really like the pink and the purple. Like, they have very unique tones to them. And again, this seems to be building up very, very nicely. I will say that, like I said before, they do take a little bit of time to get built up, but as long as you're patient with them, you can definitely get some pretty intense looks out of this. Okay, so the purple is down, and I think what I want to do next is I want to do I want to do a halo eye? No, not really. I think I'm going to take Gravity, and I think I just want to put this all over my lid. I want to see what this looks like as a shimmer, because it really is just a satin, but I want to see what happens if I spray my brush with this and just pack it all over my lid. Like, I just want to see what kind of intensity I can get out of this. So I'm going to take my MAC Fix Plus and spray my brush with that, and then, like I said, I'm just going to put this all over my lid and blend it into my crease. And that actually looks really, really, really nice. It is for sure just a satin shade, but I do feel like it's got a bit more sheen to it now that I did spray my brush. But I kind of like that this is a satin in this palette. Most of the time I don't really like satins, but since it is the darkest shade, I would rather the darkest shade be a matte or a satin rather than a shimmer. I don't really like when the darkest shade in my palette is a shimmer, because usually the darkest shade is what I like to use to deepen up looks with, and that's just really hard to do with like pure shimmers. So I think that this is going to do a really good job of doing what I wanted to do, which is basically just having a very dark lid that's blended into the crease here. So I am going to go in and blend a little bit more once I put down the shadow on both eyes here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my Morphe E36 brush, which is this small fluffy brush, and I'm going to dip into a little bit more of this color and just use this brush to blend this color into my crease, and then I'll go in with the matte again one last time to just make sure that I have a little bit of that still showing. And I'm making sure to pull this color up above the hood of my eye so that I can still see the darkest color when my eye is open, because that's going to help make my eyes look a little bit less hooded than they are, because I'm kind of cheating by creating a shadow where my crease is supposed to be, or where I want my crease to be, I should say. So I'm gonna start off by taking Jolt, and I'm not gonna put down any primer this time just because I want to see how this works. I really just want like a wash of this so that I can blend the darker green shimmer into it. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do both of those at the same time, and I'll fast forward so you can see me applying them. And to finish off for my inner corner, I'm going to take a bit more of that white again without using a base this time, and just pack that in my inner corner as a little bit of an inner corner highlight. And that actually lays on really nicely even without having some kind of a base down. So this is going to be the look. I'm going to finish off with my eyes. I'm going to use Teaspoon by Colourpop in my waterline, do some liner and mascara, and then I'll come back and I will tell you kind of like my final thoughts and review on this palette. So hang on tight and I will finish off my look and I'll be right back. So the look is all done, and I think that this came together very well. I don't feel like it really goes with my hair though. I don't know what it is, but there's something that's kind of throwing this off a little bit. But let's talk a bit more about my thoughts on this palette. So I would say after playing with this more, I have a better impression of it than I did in my first impression video. I feel like all of these shadows perform really well, at least the ones that I've tried. I mean, I guess that's all of them. The only one that I haven't really used is the orange, but orange is one of those colors that I feel like is pretty safe. Like most of the time it's going to perform well because of it's just an easier shadow to formulate, if that makes sense. So I would say that overall, I'm really happy with this palette. My only complaint is that it's not even really a complaint. This is more of like a personal preference thing, but I wish that there was like some kind of a unique shimmer in here, and I wish that this green shimmer was replaced by maybe a metallic instead, or maybe even like some kind of a green duochrome or something, just to make it a little bit more unique, because I feel like this has been done before, you know, it's been done by other brands. I don't feel like there's anything particularly special about this formula. It's just a good rainbow palette, you know, like I feel like if you have the Melt Radioactive palette, I don't think you need this. I think if you have any other rainbow palette with similar colors that you like, this doesn't really add anything special to your collection unless you're an Urban Decay collector, which obviously I would see why you would buy this. I do think this is a good palette if you don't have anything like this in your collection, and I also feel like I said in my first impression video that this was maybe not a beginner palette, but I actually feel like this may even be more of a beginner palette than I originally thought, because the shadows perform well, but they are a little bit softer than they really appear in the pan, so that's probably a good thing for someone who's maybe getting into makeup and want to play with color but is a little bit scared of like that super full pigmentation that a lot of indie brands come out with. If you want something that's a little bit more on the softer side, this is definitely not a neon palette. It's a lot more muted than that, but the shadows still perform well, and it's not muted in a bad way. It's just that the colors are showing up a little bit darker in the palette than they do on the eyes, at least with the primers that I use. It could be completely different if you use a different primer, but for the kind of primer that I used, that was my experience. So I would say that I really like this palette. I definitely didn't need it in my collection. I would have bought it for review purposes if I didn't get it sent, but none of these colors are colors that I don't already own. But I'm still just so happy to have this palette, and I'm so honored to have been sent this. Like, that is insane. Like, I'm never going to get over this. I'm never going to get rid of this palette. This palette has a very special place in my heart right now. So yeah, those are going to be my thoughts. Let me know what you think of the looks, and let me know how you feel about this format of doing a 3 looks 1 palette, because this is just going to allow me to do a lot more of these 3 looks 1 palettes if I can film them in one session, because otherwise it takes away time that I would use to film with something else. So yeah, if you want to see some other first impression videos that I've done lately, I'll pop a couple up on the screen so you can keep watching. And if you're new, I would love it if you would consider subscribing, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.